As some of you may now know, the future of Barcelona is in a little bit of jeopardy. The board is not connected right now with the rest of the club, and this is certainly causing tension within the fan base and the board. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing what is wrong with the current Barcelona board, because there's a lot of speculation on it. Some of you guys who maybe aren't as into Barcelona or be wondering, what's going on in this current situation if you are a Barcelona fan. I've basically tried to narrow it down into a couple of categories. We're going to be discussing a few things, and basically, whilst going into enough detail, giving you guys the basics of what is happening with Barcelona right now and what needs to change and what the issues are, because it's quite a complicated old process, and I'm going to be giving you guys some names to deal with. And I hope to make it easy enough for you guys to understand what is going on with this current Barcelona board. So without going any further, we need to discuss who is in the current Barcelona board. Of course, the president is Bartomeu. We'll be getting on to him later. He's also got Abidal with him now, the legend of the club, of course. He's dealing with a lot of transfer stuff right now. He's got Pep Seguela next to him, who's a name that will definitely crop up when we talk about transfers and players that have been coming into Barca who don't suit the sort of philosophy. Jordi Messeras just left as vice president. Bartomeu is now taking his role and gaining even more control of the club. We'll also be discussing about what that means in the future of this video. Was he a good man then? If he's leaving, did he see concerns, or did he have concerns with the club, and was he thinking, this club's going down, I've got to get out of here? Or was he just someone who was, putting in negative ideas into the club and they weren't being listened to? That's all something that's to discuss. That's kind of your own opinion, I think, if you're a Barcelona fan. And then in terms of the youth, there's also Barquero and Guillermo Amor who've been dealing with that. And we'll also be discussing them a little bit in their terms of recruitment and as to how they are treating with our youth teams. So I've been through some of the key names of the board, and now let's get into the three categories I'm going to be discussing in this video to make this easy enough for you guys to understand. Category number one is going to be the loss of philosophy at the club. That's one of the big issues of the current board. There's also been the new transfer policy, which we'll certainly be getting onto once I've discussed the philosophy, which has certainly changed in recent years, and in the terms of the way players are coming in and the way players are going out and the way that weighs up financially. There's been big issues there, as you guys will know, in the past weeks with Neymar and Griezmann, etc. And then there's also the discussion of the youth. Barcelona used to be a club fully based on youth, but now the trust in it is completely gone, and because of it, there aren't as many good players coming through. There's not enough trust in the facilities of the academies, the coaches are in poor state. We'll getting onto that later. But first off, let's start with the loss of philosophy of this football club. Now, a lot of the reason that the philosophy of Football Club Barcelona has been lost in recent years is because of our coach, Ernesto Valverde. But I wouldn't want to make this video all about him, because in my opinion, he isn't the biggest issue, and that's why I've made this video about the board and not the coach. The coach, however, he's there because of the board. They've appointed him, he's messed up in certain situations, and he's still there. That's the board's fault. He doesn't decide if he remains or not, the board do. And as of right now, it's kind of like Bartomeu and Valverde have this little conversation going on them, and they're kind of just happy to keep this mediocrity alive. When Valverde's become coach of this club, we've often changed it to more of a 4-4-2 shape, the sort of shape you wouldn't see in Barcelona a lot. Yes, it's not a conventional 4-4-2, of course. There's a little more integration between each position, but it is a 4-4-2. We've often been settling for 1-0s and 2-0s in games that we could get a lot more. Say we get a 2-0 in the 39th minute, that will often be that for the rest of the game. We'll just play out the rest of the 90 minutes as if we don't need more goals, because we just want the 3 points, get out of there, get home, prepare for next game tactically. And there's certainly been a loss in the way philosophy has been transmitted onto the field, and in my opinion that's also come through team selection. Some players who are being left out, not integrated into the first team from the youth, and that ultimately does come through Valverde. Should he be at the club? I'm not sure. The Valverde thing is a really delicate situation. I don't think in this third season he should probably still be here now, because of the 2 seasons he just had. I think 2 seasons is probably enough now for him. He's done alright, but there's just been too many situations where you can tell he's not right for the Barca job. Despite the fact Cruyff recommended him, Iniesta, Xavi, I can see times when we're playing good football under Valverde, and maybe Valverde does want to play good football, but I think he's too happy to just revert back to a 4-4-2. Say there's a tricky game, then what we'll do is we'll just block up the right hand side with Roberto and Semedo instead of taking the game to them. And for me that can't happen, it's kind of the opposite of what you want at Barcelona, isn't it? So yeah, the coach is definitely a big issue of that philosophy being lost, and the board continuing to allow the coach to continue, of course, plays into that. And the worst part about this is that Bartomeu lets it all happen. He's in complete control, and with Mestre going as vice president, he now has almost total control over the football club. He's made some dodgy decisions in his time, Bartomeu, but his decision to keep Valverde on persistently is certainly the one that's got the fans the most, in my personal opinion. You know, Valverde out, if you go on a Barca post, that's all you'll see. So Valverde's definitely taken the biggest blunt of this whole mess up that's been Barcelona this year. You know, getting knocked out to Roma 3-0, to Liverpool 4-0, you know, these massive mess ups, they wouldn't ever happen. But the philosophy's gone from this club. We often have about 52% possession in home games to teams like Levante and Getafe. That's silly, boys. We're not dominating games. We're often happy to sit in and then let them come on to us and then counter-attack them. You know, you shouldn't really be counter-attacking Levante. You should be taking the game to them and scoring 7 goals against them. Of course, you know, that's no disrespect to Levante. Maybe you shouldn't. But with our team, yes we can. And we should be thinking to ourselves, let's beat these guys 7-0. La Liga isn't an easy league, it really isn't. No matter what the English people will try and brainwash you into thinking. It's a very competitive league, teams are getting better each year, especially tactically. You know, some of the managers in there are some of the best managers in football right now, in my opinion. Who, you know, you just don't hear about, such as Bordalas and Rubi. But I still think that Barcelona, with this in mind, need to stop thinking about the opposition. Another big issue is in Valverde. What he does is he goes into games and he thinks about the opposition first. Now, I'm also a big Chelsea fan, and it's interesting because I can see his side of view. I can see when I'm a Chelsea fan and we play Man City away, I don't think about us, I think about how we're going to stop these guys and how is that then going to aid us. But when you're coach of Barcelona, Valverde should have known this when coming in. You think about yourselves first, you don't think about how to defend, you think about how to attack situations. And whilst he's done that on a few occasions, we've seen some great lineups from him in our time, haven't we, boys? Some great performances, you know, Man U at home, Liverpool at home, we've got the Sevilla games, Sevilla home and away, you know, some of the Clásicos we've dominated, but there have been so many games, and it's mainly the Champions League exits that have been so demoralising. When the mentality's not there, is he motivating them? The philosophy's completely gone. You know, we look scared to go and attack teams, and at the end of the day, it's cost us dear. The philosophy's gone, and that needs to come back. And ultimately, Bartomeu's appointed Valverde. Valverde clearly doesn't have the ideal Barca philosophy, and that's cost us big time in recent years, in my opinion. Now, guys, that's enough discussing of the loss of philosophy. We're now going to be moving on to the transfer policy of this club, and you guys will certainly notice, you know, the way we have been spending money these days is very, very dodgy. But I'll get onto that soon. I want to start with my first point, that's to do with Pep Segura, someone I mentioned earlier, and he often basically goes into the market and finds players that he personally likes. He did it with Ludovic Reis, who's a young Dutch midfielder recently. You know, he was linked with Ajax a couple of months ago. He's signed for Barca B now. He's a good midfielder, but the guy's a bit more of a stern player now. He could go on to be a great player for Barca B, I don't know. But that's just an example of a player that Pep Segura just chooses and watches a few games and thinks, oh, he's quite good, I'll pick him. That's ridiculous for Barcelona. For Barcelona, you need to be studying these players for months and months on end, and sometimes years, which is in fairness what we've been doing with De Jong, you know, studying him right back for what, 2-3 years now. And you know, we can make good signings, we can. De Jong is an exceptional signing, but there's certain people that Segura just picks up without thinking twice. You only need to look back to January when we picked up Murillo and, yes, the king Kevin Prince Boateng. These are two signings who, you know, we can joke and laugh about them, but at the end of the day, what is the need for that? You had Chumi for the centre-back spot if you wanted. We even signed Todibo, so there wasn't a need for Murillo. But again, Segura wanted a nice, strong player, so we picked someone up without the Barca DNA. And Boateng, what on earth, out of about the 15 strikers that went around the club's name right there, why pick Boateng? He was ageing, he's not even an out-and-out striker, he doesn't really have any of the characteristics that he once did at the age of 25 or 24 when he was a young player in that AC Milan team that once hurt us big time in the 2012-2013 Champions League campaign. Boateng was a bit of a joke this season and turned into a meme worldwide. And who knows, if we had a good striker off the bench that we signed or even brought up from the youth, Abel Ruiz, I'm talking about Alejandro Marquez, who's playing right behind me in the background for the Spain under-19s as we speak. You know, if we just use some of these guys, could they go on to be world beaters for us? Well, we'll never know because we'll never try. But that's what I'll talk about later in my youth section. But in terms of transfers, you know, we just spend money for the sake of it. Griezmann, 120 million, there you go. We now want Neymar back, 200 million. And it's just players who we look at and think, he can score goals, or he's a good player, we'll sign him, instead of actually thinking twice and being smart about it. We don't sign players such as Oyarzabal, Fabian Ruiz, Junior Firpo, who in fairness we're going to be signing now, in my opinion. I think that's going to be a great, great signing, can I just say, if that goes ahead. Really excited for that one. Now that's the sort of signing we need to be making, guys, but it doesn't happen often, and only now we're just looking at Firpo. Before, you know, we'd be looking at Ricardo Rodriguez, Guerreiro, Felipe Luis. people like Segura just don't ever think twice. They just pick players randomly from the market, and that's hurting us big time in my opinion. You know, it's taking us away from the Barca philosophy. We're not picking the players that are suited right to us, and we're just kind of like delving into the market and picking players randomly. I know it's a weird one, but Segura, in my opinion, is at the heart of that. The guy doesn't really think twice. He just picks up random like bulky players that he likes and throws them into Barcelona without any second thought. As well as Segura ignoring that youth and kind of just signing players from everywhere. He doesn't sign the good ones, but then if we move into the youth academy, it's kind of the same story, guys. We'll start with the coaches, because the Barca youth is always something that's talked about massively, and I want to try and explain it to you guys here. Barcelona have a lot of youth teams, of course, going down the line, you know, all the way down to like Cadet, which is the like, under 12s and stuff. You might have seen recently, you know, Clivert's son's been playing for that, and players like Lamine Yamal. I mean, I don't know how many of these guys you know, but anyway, we have Barcelona, of course, then Barcelona B, who's now currently being managed by Pimienta, which is a really good addition in my opinion. That's a great coach of Barca, probably the only guy right now on the whole of the Barca coaching setup who's actually right for the club. You move on to Juvenil A, we had Dennis Silva there. He's now being replaced by Valdés, only just now, of course. Juvenil B is a Artiga, I believe. Again, shouldn't be there. And these are all guys who, they don't promote the Barca ideas. They're similar to Valverde, you know, they'd be the sort of guys that would be perfect for a lower down La Liga club. Managing Barca, they don't manage the players correctly. We're losing big names because of it, because quite frankly, Barcelona just isn't that attractive to play for right now if you're a youth player. Xavi Simons, we've heard rumours about him leaving to PSG in recent like days. Fingers crossed, and it is looking like he's going to be renewing with Barca now. But he's another player we could be using, and it's not like he'd be the first, is he? You know, we've lost Grimaldo, Sergio Gomez, another guy playing on the Spain under-19s just in front of me right now. Another one being Mateo Morey, who's also just gone to Dortmund. You know, players are now finding offers from other clubs more attractive than Barca, which really should be one of the best academies in the world. But it just isn't right now. The coaches are poor, and also they don't trust the integration into the first team. You know why? Because chances are they're not going to get there. And even if they get there, like Ricky Puig is this year, how many opportunities are they going to get? 5 appearances a season? Because you remember when the Guardiola days and we had Cuenca and Teo on each wing, and he was happy to play them in Champions League games. You know, that Champions League semi-final, the famous one to Chelsea in the semis. Cuenca was playing on that wing. No one really remembers it. He got the assist for the first Busquets goal, of course. But like that was just regarded as normal back then. But imagine now if you went into a game and saw Carles Perez, a Barca winger, playing in a Champions League game. It wouldn't happen, and it doesn't happen, and it hasn't happened for years on end now, because they're not trusted. And I was thinking about this the other day, you know, maybe if we were using some of these youth players in the Liverpool games, in the Roma games, would we go out? Because I don't think we would, because they'd actually be hungry to fight for the club, because they've come up from the youth teams, and they're still showing that passion, and they're fresh in the mind. They haven't done this before, and they want to do it. These guys have already won things, and they've already been and done this. And right now there's a mentality drill within the club and within the first team that's hitting us hard right now, and the youth is continued to be ignored, and for that reason they're leaving to other clubs. The coaching's poor and the board won't trust them to come up. You'd even look in this window, for example. Citizen leaves. The first thought of all the Barca fans and all the people associated with Barcelona is promote Iñaki Peña. The guy had a great season last year at Barcelona B, and it was perfect. But you know why they won't promote him? Because they're too scared. They're too scared if something goes wrong. And that's the issue with the board right now. They're very cowardly. They're too scared if something goes wrong. So what do? We go and get probably one of the top 5 goalkeepers in La Liga, in Neto, and sit him on our bench so that if anything needs to happen, he'll come in and slot in there nicely. Instead of giving Iñaki Peña the chance this year, putting him in there, maybe just letting him make a few mistakes for once, which just wouldn't be allowed under Valverde, let's be honest. But maybe just letting someone make some mistakes so that then they can learn and become great goalkeepers in the future, because right now they're not getting chances. And I just read a report, you know, Iñaki Peña now could be looking for a new club, and why not? He's not going to play here, so he might as well go and play somewhere else in La Liga. So yeah, I mean, we're losing our players, you know, that's an example just from this window. We're promoting some guys now for the pre-season tour. We have to see what they can do. Puig should be in the first team this season. Alenya already in the first team. Cucurella looks like he's going to be sold straight off here. We're making profit from these youth players, you know, without even considering their futures right now. Miranda's currently playing for the Spain under-19s. Again, that's another one of those talents. But you know, he could even be used in a deal to bring Junior Firpo here. not the worst it would have been we would have discussed today. That's, in my opinion, a really good signing. You know, young Spanish, the sort of player we should be looking for. And you know, the price is around 30 million right now, not 200. So this is the sort of player we should be looking for, in my opinion, Junior Firpo. But yeah, you know, how many more players are we going to let go? How poor is the treatment of these youth players going to be in the upcoming years? I just don't know. But yeah, we've got big issues in the club right now. That's kind of the whole overview of the Barca board in kind of broad terms, but I went into it in a little bit of detail too. You know, the philosophy is being lost, and in addition to that, the youth aren't being used, and the transfer policy is very, very, well, it's an issue right now in my opinion. You know, very, very questionable, very unlike Barca, and we've got issues. So that leaves us with, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? Well, if you keep the current board, then you don't really go to a lot of places. There are kind of two solutions. One, you either keep the current board and you just try and do the sensible thing. So would it be that hard for Bartomeu to just say, or to let Valverde know and have a discussion with him, right, this season, do you want to use Iñaki Peña as your sub-goalkeeper? Do you want to use Cucurella or Miranda as your sub-left-back? Do you want to use Ricky Puig as your midfielder? Do you want to use Carles Perez as your sub-right winger for Messi? All of these questions that aren't asked right now. When we're looking for new players, we'll just go, we'll pick Firpo or pick Neto. In the attack, we'll put Neymar and Griezmann in there to fill that void. You know, we'll even keep Malcolm, as much as they don't like him. They're happy to keep Malcolm because he's not, when he's a trusted player, if they put him in, they'll know he does a good job. If we put Carlos Perez in, it's not 100% sure that he would do a good job, is it? But there's no trust in the youth, and that's the kind of the issue right now. But if we keep the current board, that's the sort of conversations that need to be had. Kind of just discussing, you know, where we can fit these guys in. If we don't, then the whole point is you get a club refresh. You know, you get someone like Victor Font in as the new president, and then you go from there. And then from that, of course, we can build and we can do things properly from there. And there's so many guys out there, you know, running for Barca presidency who would do a better job than Bartomeu in terms of promoting the club values. Would we get these results in La Liga? Maybe not. Maybe we'd lose a La Liga title or a Copa del Rey final here and there. But you know what? We've already started doing that now, and that's without taking any risks. So who knows what's coming next. But yeah, that has been this video in a nutshell. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Quite a long one, because there's actually quite a lot to get through with the Barcelona board. I hope I discussed it decently enough. I know maybe there are some bits that maybe I rambled on a little bit too much and here and there, but I've kind of just sat down here or stood up in front of this camera and kind of just put this Barca board situation into three categories and talked about who's in charge, you know, the loss of philosophy, the transfer policy, and the youth treatment that is in the club right now, and kind of talking about where we can go from here and the sort of actions that could be taken potentially in the future to change the situation. I couldn't really find a video like this on YouTube, so yeah, I kind of tried to give you guys an overview. If there are any of you Barca fans, I know there are loads of English-speaking Barca fans, you know, all over the world, in all sorts of areas, you know, USA, India, etc. But you know, all over the world, there's plenty of Barca fans. So, you know, I just wanted this basically to give you guys a video where you guys can come on here, find out what's going on with our board, and then of course make your own judgments as to what we should do next. That's been me for today. Please do drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed it. I know it's a long one for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoy the in-depth analysis element of it. And I'll be back very, very soon for some Lampard Chelsea tactics, or more how we are going to set up this season in terms of personnel. That's going to be interesting in my opinion. You know, seeing who's going to stay, who's going to go. Well, that'll be coming to you guys very, very soon. For now, hope you enjoy, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.